Well, welcome back to another episode, and this promises to be quite an interesting one because we have some issues here with our chassis leg that we need to have fixed, and we're going to be doing that in this episode. Now, off camera, I have been a bit busy. I've started painting this bit up just to get the etch primer away, just to kind of give it basically more layers. There's still bits down by the radiator that I'll have to spray, but what I've been doing is I've been putting the chassis sort of connections all together. I've temporarily put the wing on. It's not on at the bottom. But as you can see, it's been repaired. It's nice and straight down the line now. And even the headlight, because I just wanted to check that this all lines up okay. And sure enough, it does. Now, we do have a broken part here, but obviously this will sit more inward like that. And that looks, well, spot on, to be honest. So I'm pretty confident that's not wrong. I mean, if you follow the sort of leg down, it's literally spot on. Whereas you come to this side, chassis leg sort of comes down this angle. And that's the issue. I mean, this sort of sits just inside the headlight, which I think is absolutely fine. Whereas this side, you can see, well, it's actually quite far out. So this is what Will is going to help try and push out. I've sort of asked him if he needed me to strip all this stuff down, but he doesn't think that's necessary. So all I'm going to do is just obviously remove the headlight for now. Again, I was just trying to see what the lineup would be like in comparison, just trying to get some good comparisons going, basically. So for now, I'm just going to strip this end down just a little bit. He reckons, like I say, don't need to do too much, but I'm just obviously going to get the headlight back out the way and just any other bits that I think are easy enough to take off. I'm just going to do that just so it's that much easier. But we've also got to remove these seat belts because, as you can see, they've locked up in the crash. And the way, to be honest, I've never had to do this before, but it looks like we've got one socket down here, and then we've got a Phillips screw down here. So let's do it. And of course, there's a fair bit more to it than that, but it's a start. Once I've removed them, I naively thought the section would be on clips, so I tried to pull it up and accidentally damaged it. I've been thinking about it since then, and I think I should be able to repair this fairly easily though, which is a relief. With that out of the way though, I continue stripping down near enough anything I can see is accessible or easily removed to see if it exposes any more screws. There aren't any videos online on how to do this, so I am literally winging it. I then found the door seals pull away, and this then reveals a couple of screws that can be removed. With those out of the way, I can then lift the top section up just enough to get at a further 2 screws inside the top of the trim that hold it to a bracket, which then mounts onto the subsection. I hope you're with me. I then remove the speaker and a couple more screws that are now visible with the speaker cover removed. And as you can see, the panel is lifting up a little bit more. Well, I don't really want to go much further. There is another bracket down here, but I should be able to get at the seatbelt now. I think if I just get this sort of held back out the way, I should be able to get at that mechanism. So this is the bit we want, and I just need to figure out how it's bolted on and remove it. I'm hoping it's just that one bolt there, but that would be a stroke of luck, so I'm a bit doubtful. Well, this is the state of play now. I can get proper access to it, and then I'll be able to work on this bit sort of without any interference, and then we'll figure out how to get it out. Okay, well, the screw is out, and I don't think that's our culprit. I think, to just see it a second ago, I think we need to get that bolt out, is my next guess. And sure enough, it was just that bolt holding it in, as well as one electrical connector. One down, and my seatbelt virginity was gone, which is not a sentence I thought I'd ever say. Here we go. Come on! Look at that. Well, what a ball ache it was just to get this piece out, to literally strip out the whole end like that. Still got to do the other side as well. But you know what? It's another first. Never taken a seatbelt out before. And yeah, other than the slight damage, which now I know how to do it, I won't do on the other side, but I'm sure it's an easy one just to tidy up. But still, I'm still pretty proud. It wasn't a flawless job, as you know. But there you go. It's out. Next one. And with a better idea of how to do it, this side was considerably quicker. You can see here the red plastic clip is already broken though from the way the seatbelt has locked up and pulled it back. But again, this should be repairable. I'm then removing the speaker cover, and I'm using the other speaker cover as a reference for where the clips are to make sure I'm pulling it in the correct areas and not damaging it. I can then disconnect the actual speaker, followed by another screw that connects the top part to the subsection. There's then the 2 screws underneath the trim that connect to the bracket, same as the other side. With those removed, I can now lift up the trim, disconnect the electrical connector, unbolt the seatbelt mechanism, and then just pull it out. Oh, and I did forget this bolt here too, but after that, the job was done. Easy when you know how. Aha! Well, that second one was a lot quicker. Probably took me about 20 minutes, whereas the first one took me about 50. So definitely goes to show you can trim a lot of time by just knowing what you're doing. But anyway, these are going to go off to a guy actually who I've been reaching out to. He's going to charge £90 per seatbelt to have them changed. He's going to change the mechanism. So I've got to send them off to him. He's in High Wycombe, so I'll either drive it to him this weekend or post it, we'll see. And then they should come back in about a week or so's time, maybe just over. And by then, hopefully we might have most of the front end done too, but we'll see. And so with the seatbelts done, ready to get posted off, now means Will is on his way down to tackle his chassis. And yeah, hopefully I'll be able to show you a repaired chassis very, very soon. And hopefully I'll be able to record bits of it, but I'll be honest, I'm dying with my hay fever today. It is absolutely killing me. I feel like my nose is constantly streaming, and you can probably hear it makes me sound a bit bunged up. So yeah, we'll just see how much I can get on camera for you, but we'll definitely talk about it after. Let's do it. All right, Will and Joy have just been, and as you can tell probably by the grin on my face, they managed to crack the case. It was pretty epic. Let me show you how they did it. So I didn't really get any footage going because, yeah, my hay fever is absolutely killing me. Sorry about the sniffing in advance. But basically, we pulled it forward, took the wheel off. They sort of wrapped around the chassis point and hooked it around here. And then they used a jig to sort of connect from that point there, this on the corner here. See these bits here, for instance. So that was where it was connected. Ran it through here and pushed it out until we could get the bolt on, basically. It should hold maybe, but the top bit we think might need to come over a bit more, but we won't know until the other crash bar or the top crash bar is fixed. But I can still put the rest of the car together. I can connect the bumpers under each side. So it should still be okay. I can still get this car ready for an MOT, and then once it's MOT, take it back to them. Obviously they're working remotely, which isn't ideal. So then they can actually try and get these bits lined up properly. If it doesn't, once I get this crash bar back, if it doesn't line up, if the holes don't line up with the bumper, then yeah, they'll be able to fix all that for me. So overall, like so happy, honestly, like super relieved. We've got a chassis looking pretty straight now on both sides. It just follows the chassis leg down from this top bit up here, just goes all the way down. So I'm super happy. And yeah, I guess we can start putting this thing back together. And just to show you as well how it's looking down here, I mean, that's pretty much gone on its original seals. So that's really good too. I'm going to basically leave this bit bolted on to kind of hold it all in place. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach out to the same welder and see if he can sort of tie me in with another job in the area. Doesn't need to be immediate, just to keep costs down, you know, even if it's in the next week or two. It's easy enough to get to. Even with this front end on, I can literally just take the wheel off and he'll be able to get on it there with the, up on the ramp. So yeah, gonna just sort of leave this bit bolted on to hold it all in position. And then once I can get the weld around at a sort of convenient day for him, I'll get that welded on. In good spirits, I then had to do the slightly tedious job of putting the wheels back on, jacking up the back of the car and using the forklift to push the car back towards the ramp. I don't think there's a manual override for electronic handbrake, but we can manage without. With the car back on the ramp, I can then remove the wheels again so I can have a better workspace. In fairness, you can see with it up on the ramp now and no longer on a jack, you can see this point sticks out more. So they definitely do need to push this end out a little bit more again, but we all agreed that that was likely to be the case, and it'll just be easy to do this further down the line. We don't have the crash bar or anything to hold it in position now, but we're all aware this is going to need pushing out a little bit more. Nonetheless, I can now start refitting the front right and the oil cooler, starting with the main radiator support bracket. I took a lot of photos when removing these parts the other day, so I'm just following the photos in reverse to let me know what order I need to reconnect everything. Next up is the crash sensor and horn, which both have earth cables to connect up as well. With those on, it's time for the oil cooler support frame to go on, which again was lining up quite nicely, same as the other side. And this was the benefit of taking photos though. I checked to see if I'd done this correctly, and sure enough, I'd missed this part off, which I was quickly able to put in place before I'd put everything else on the car and blocked access to it. Lastly, I can put the cushion supports in place and lift the oil cooler into position before realizing I could go no further. Well, I've just had to hold fire actually, because obviously trying to put these clips on, I've bought new ones with a Phillips head, just because that's going to be so much nicer to work with rather than these weird ones, which I've got a feeling might have been one-use ones. But anyway, I wanted to replace them even if they're not. But I've realized that this size is too small. I think it's about 2.5 inches, something like that. So I've ordered 3 inches, and then that one should go on okay, or fingers crossed it should go on anyway. But that's this end actually pretty well there, to be honest. It's pretty well built up. There's obviously a few bits to do. Like I say, I just need to put the clips on the back of the radiator here. Got one hose there. It's a smaller one, I can actually do that now. I had to feed this one back on up here as well. And then, yeah, 1 and 2 need to go on once I've got those clips arrive. But on the whole, it's getting there. And I've got to say, this is it feels like almost a turning point. By the end of last week, with all the setbacks that happened, I was a bit pissed off. I was a bit down in the dumps, but actually putting the car back together now is super exciting. It kind of feels like we're on the home straight. We're obviously way off that, but it's nice to actually be, instead of taking stuff apart, putting it back on, which, yeah, feels like a landmark moment. Feels like, yeah, the direction of momentum is changing. So come on, let's do it. So I've just temporarily put these on now, just so it's out of the way, because I might as well start putting the air duct back on and stuff like that. And then I'll just remember tomorrow, it's just those 2 hoses need clips on, but everything else here looks pretty well done. Been following all my photos all the way through, so I've just been doing everything in order and checking everything's routing back to where it was. So yeah, that should be this end done. Now the other end's going to be a lot more difficult, to be honest. I don't think I've got time for it today, because I've got to connect the hoses up down here, got to connect all the ones into the main engine as well. So this is probably going to take a bit longer, but yeah, hopefully should all be okay. And so that brings us nicely back to the board. And as you can see, we've got a few things that we need to add on now. So I'm going to start off with the seatbelt tensioners. We're getting those sent off, and the cost is £90 per seatbelt, so £180. We've also had the welding done up the top there, and that was £385. And then obviously I've got a new airbag ECU. Airbag ECU, and that was £214, I believe it was, off the top of my head. And so we're looking actually all right on this. This brings us up for the whole build to £49,472, which, to be still under 50 grand on this car, considering it costs 38, I think it's pretty good, because really it should just be a case of putting stuff together now and then sending it off to the body shop for the final bit. So I think we've had an absolute steal here. And I guess it'll just depend what the body shop are going to charge. It's going to be the bonnet, the bumper, the A-pillars to tidy up. But that's pretty much it in terms of what I need them to do. Just trying to think if there's anything else. There might be some jig work as well on that top crash bar. We'll see when that comes back, but can't be much more than £1,500, I imagine. So I'm really happy with how it's all coming along, but let me know what you think. Do you think I've overpaid for this, or are you in the same boat as me? Do you think we're looking like a bargain Ferrari so far? Well, actually, I've just realized that I think we're out of time for this episode, but as you can see, the next episode promises to be a really, really juicy one, as we're gonna get this whole front end fitted, and I have sent those seatbelts off as well, but that'll probably be in just over a week. But next week, we're gonna be putting this whole front end in, going to be putting the wipers back on, the bonnet. Honestly, I can't wait for it. It's going to be amazing, but you're going to have to stay tuned for that one. Obviously, subscribe if you're new. Hit that red button down below, because we have a lot more to come on this Ferrari. And obviously, for those of you who've watched the videos, yeah, please do hit the like button again. I really appreciate it. It really seems to be accelerating the growth of this channel. And it's really exciting. We're getting very close to 3,000 subscribers now. And we only hit 2,000, less than a month ago. So really going in the right direction. So thank you all for that. It's super exciting, and it's, yeah, definitely, when I was having some bad news with this last week and the Ford, it really cheered me up. So thank you very much, and yeah, look forward to seeing you next week. Bye-bye.